Hello and welcome to my new video. This was some form of request, but at the same time something that I wanted to do for quite some time. It's a new video series which will talk about what are for me one of the most beautiful banknotes in the world. Most of them will be quite expensive. Most of them I will not have, but it's also nice to actually search and look for the history of banknotes that you don't even have. Something that you might find appealing when you see that banknote in an auction. And the first one that I'm going to present today is the Albania 100 Franka Ari from 1926. So, first of all, let's speak a bit about Albania. So, Albania, it's not a very old country, and what it has as borders today, it basically gained independence from the Ottoman Empire in 1912. This didn't last so long. The country was occupied in 1913, 1914 by Italy, by Greece, um, also by Serbia, who basically just divided parts of the country between themselves. Um, Between this period, they had a German king or a German prince that was put as king of Albania, but with the start of the First World War, the country was basically a battleground for different forces. After the First World War in 1919, and pressured a bit by a big neighbor, the Kingdom of Serbia, um, Albania kind of aligned with Italy, and the First Republic started in the country. That lasted until from 1919 to 1928, and is during this period, this passing period, that these first banknotes of Albania were issued. So this is exactly the first series, starting with the five Franka Ari, or actually the first Franka Ari, the five Franka Ari, and the 20 Franka Ari, and then the 100, which we will speak about today. So one Franka Ari is actually 5 lek, and that's something that is interesting to point out, something of a conversion at the time. Here, one funny story is about the pick number 1, which you can see as the first banknote there, that says Pezelek, Cinquelek, or 1 Franka Ari. At the time, the president of the country, Ahmed Zogu, didn't like that it had the eagle, as you can see here, this eagle in the front of the banknote, and said that or asked the bank to withdraw it from circulation immediately. So this banknote is extremely rare, and probably the rarest of the Albanian banknotes in any kind of shape. There are some specimens, but an issued banknote is extremely hard to find. But let's speak about the banknote that we have today, and the first one on this series. So that's pick number 4, as I mentioned, from the first series. It's not as hard to find as the pick number 1, the one Franka Ari, but it's also not the easiest banknote. It's also one of the most hard ones to find from Albania. It's I find the design quite beautiful, and we'll get to that in a bit on the details. But the front, as you can see, has this figure here on the right, which is exactly the president of Albania, the first president of the First Republic, the first and the only, which became in 1928. After he dissolved the parliament, he became king of Albania. So he became Zog the first, king of Albania. And his monarchy lasted until 1939, so 11 years until the Second World War, and we'll go to that in a bit more detail in a bit. But here, um, besides here, and you can see here the crown and another crown here, and I'll talk about this part in a bit. Um, you see here a picture depicting the Tepe Hills and the River Drin. Unfortunately, the only image that I could find of this was of this bridge, the Gamsiki Bridge, was this here. So this bridge doesn't exist anymore, theoretically, or as much as I could find. And basically, there's no water running under it. I was not able to find out much more, but the depiction here is quite interesting. Also, the detail here of the flower and the yellow bluish beyond the dark kind of gray banknote is amazing. Also, the detail here all around is pristine. Of course, this banknote here it's hard to find in uncirculated condition, and this one had a few this humidity or a few drops of some substance. The back of the banknote, it again depicts the Tapis Hills and the River Drin. This is as much as of today that I could find. It's not exactly the image here, but again, a beautiful imagery. All the detail here of this banknote all around, it's just a joy to look at it. Some details about this banknote which I find quite interesting. So the banknote was made by the Italians, by a company called Richer and Co. of Napoli, and due to this proximity at the time and this alliance with Italy, the banknote was in both languages, in Albanian and in Italian, in below. So Banca Nazionale d'Albania, it's Albanian National Bank, and this is the name in Albanian there. I will not try to read. Here also interesting is the text, which says that the law punishes the fabricators and the falsifiers and the ones giving away fake or falsified banknotes. So very interesting that a country like this in the Balkans would have as two languages in the banknote, Albanian and Italian. But again, on the watermark, and you've seen from the pictures that there's also a crown on top of the watermark. You have Skanderberg or Skanderbeu, which is a national hero of Albania and the Albanian people. It was someone that fought against the Ottoman Empire in the 15th century, against their invasions. And if I've been to Albania, I've been to Kosovo, and there are numerous statues of this historical figure. So and if you see today, still a lot of banknotes from all eras or all decades of Albania would have, in one version or the other, Skanderberg or Skanderbeu. So quite the most important figure of the history of Albania. Regarding prices, and again, if you look at the World Paper Money Standard Catalog, the price of the P4 would be $500 in good, $1,500 in fine, and $3,000 in extremely fine. The specimen will be $500. In reality, the prices in the last years have been you can get at cheaper price than this 3,000, 1,200 is the price that you can get in almost uncirculated, in completely uncirculated. I haven't seen it. The specimen appears more often, and uncirculated you can expect to pay around $700. and there's a color trial. That one basically interesting in the 1,200 bucks in uncirculated. So the specimen you can see here, it's because it's uncirculated, you can see the colors even better, especially here, and also the watermark, extremely well defined. It's just an amazing banknote. I will try to get this one in specimen. Next, I have the front part of a blue version, so a color trial. This is exactly the same banknote, but this color trial has appeared in auctions. A couple of these. They have only one face, so it's only the front, and you can see here that the blue is then used as the main color opposed to this brownish red. I think the both versions are beautiful, but and I would like to have both. That's the reality of it. One last point of this banknote is the P5, which, as you can see, is actually the same banknote but with an overprint of the Albanian two-headed eagle that is in the Albanian flag. So what happened was in 1939, Albania, already with Mussolini already entering the Second World War, um, went to Zog the First and expected or proposed that Albania unifies with Italy, which he refused. After this refusal, basically Mussolini or the Italian troops invaded Albania and deposed the king, passing the crown to, at the time, Emanuele III of Italy. Um, and what happened was that since this was the only banknote that actually had the figure of the king, still in 1939, they declared this banknote, or they tried to withdraw this 100 franga oro, and the banknotes that they put their hands on, they put this two-headed eagle as an overprint to make it legal tender. Um, Basically, in 1939 to 40, all the other banknotes were then tied to the Italian lira, and the Italian lira started to be also the currency that was widely used in Albania during the period of the Second World War until the Allies recovered Albania. Why this banknote is so hard to find, this one, so the P4 and P5, as contrary to the P2 and P3, which are actually easy to find, especially not in uncirculated or almost uncirculated condition, so in the lesser conditions, is due to the fact that um, during the reign of communism following Second World War, with Everosha that lasted until the mid 80s, until 90s actually, but mid 80s was when Everosha died. It was forbidden to have this banknote with or without the overprint, and if you had one, you would be sentenced to jail. So, of course, this was already a lot of money at the time. It was the highest denomination. The fact that having one of these would constitute going to jail, and the fact that not a gigantic amount of these banknotes were produced makes it very rare. Maybe this one, the P5, is actually the rarest of all the banknotes. Good, and that was it. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, just let me know so I would make more. Thank you very much once again for looking at my video.